Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat. We're glad so many of you are with us live and on the replay. Welcome, welcome. This is the place where we talk about all things writing, for writers and by writers, and we get very excited about our different topics. And today, we've re-invited back a special guest to talk all about book proposals, so we're going to kind of get in the nitty-gritty of that. My name is Jean Wise. I'm one of your hosts and co-hosts, and we're with us also today is Bethany Jett, and our third person in crime, Johnny, will be back with us next week. So we're excited about that. So I'm going to turn it over to Johnny to introduce our special guest today and our topic. And we'll do what we normally do. We'll have a lot of just the three of us talking for most of the program. And then we'll invite up those of you that are in the chat. Go ahead and use the chat, and we'll invite everybody back on towards the end for any final questions. Bethany.
Well, hi, I'm Bethany Jett, and I'm very excited to have Cherrilynn Bisbano here with us. She is integral to what happens over at Almost an Author, and she's helping us with Serious Writer, and she's also a reader for agent Kyle Young, so she handles a lot of book proposals. So we've talked about proposals on this show before, but it's always interesting to not hear the writer's perspective or the author's perspective, but to get it from someone who is immersed in proposals day in and day out. So I don't want to take any of your time. Cherrilynn, I'm going to turn it over to you and just teach us how we can do these better, because they take a lot of time. A lot.
Thank you, Bethany and Jean. You're so right. A good proposal takes a lot of time, a lot of research. I look at it like if you really want the agent to look at it and the publisher to look at it, you have to grab their attention and you have to do it the way they ask. So I'm a submissions reader for Kyle Young at Hartline, and I've been doing submissions readings for over a year. And what a submissions reader does is read proposals day in and day out. And I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of proposals. And I have to say, my heart breaks. Only a handful of them are excellent. I can say excellent proposals. And out of that handful, only one of them stood out to me, just one. And we signed that guy on the spot. So yes, we signed the guy on the spot. Did you have a question, Bethany?
Yeah, I was going to say, so if you follow the guidelines and have a stellar proposal, sometimes just being in the mix of a bunch of people who may not have done it right helps you stand out.
Yes, today I had put a nonfiction proposal in my folder, and I went back, and I have to say, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to tell you the first things they look at is what the book's about. And they go right to the marketing plan, not the marketing analysis. We'll discuss the difference. The marketing plan. How can you sell this book? How many books can you sell? Because unfortunately, it's a money business. You know, people have to make money. Publishers have to make money. I mean, God is in it for most of us, but God wants us to follow the directions and follow the rules. So I looked at this gentleman's today, and I just looked at who he was. I looked at his marketing plan, and I sent him an email, and I said, I want to talk about your proposal. So
I made his day.
and it's so important. So we have a lot to talk about, and maybe what I'm going to do, everybody, is I'm going to spend more time in the areas like the marketing plan and the areas that the agents and the publishers look at most. The other stuff is really self-explanatory, I will tell you, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. It's Cherrilynn@seriouswriter.com, and Bethany can probably put that in the chat remarks. I go the distance to help writers. I firmly believe the reason why God put me here is to help writers succeed. And that's my passion. And that's what our passion is. I know it's Bethany's passion and Jean's passion and probably anybody who's in this business. It's our passion. We want to help you succeed, but there's a certain way of doing it. So why do we even have to do a proposal? Excuse me, why? The proposal is your business plan. The proposal is to give the publisher and the agent an idea of what your book is about, and get them excited about it. The content should focus on the reader. It shouldn't focus on you. Yes, the aspect of the biography aspect, yeah, you need to toot your horn a little bit, be realistic, but list everything, and we're going to go over those. But when you do a book proposal, it's what is the reader going to get out of it? Think of it that way. Think like a marketer when you're doing your book proposal. It's like an advertisement, your book proposal. So the book proposal, like I said, always read the submission guidelines. I compared a lot of different publishers and agencies' book proposals. They all have similar content, but some of them are different. Hartline is changing up their agent submissions totally. And Kyle just told us that yesterday. We're not even asking for a book proposal, a completed one. So go to the agency. I won't go into it right now, but yes. But because we're asking for the marketing plan and the first 3 chapters, that's how important the marketing plan is. But go look at the submission guidelines and follow them exactly. Because if you don't, you may have the best written book ever. You may have a platform of 1 million people, but if you don't follow the guidelines, most are just going to delete it. And I hate to say that. So take the time, please take the time. So a book proposal pretty much consists of a cover letter, a 1-page sell sheet, a biographical sketch, and I'm going to go into these a little more depth. For a fiction book, it's a story synopsis. For a nonfiction, it's just a description of the book, which includes chapter outlines. Then we get into your market analysis, which is different from a marketing plan, a competitive analysis, a marketing plan, the history of your manuscript, and then your attached chapters. The cover letter. When you do your cover letter, it should be only a few paragraphs. Your cover letter, you must address the appropriate agent with the title, genre, the word count in the letter.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
And we're going to a little bit I have heard so many agents say that they will either be called like a man when they're a woman, or they are pitched so many times things that they don't take because no one takes the time to read that. And so when someone does connect in that cover letter with the agent specifically or on a personal level, it changes the whole attitude when they're looking at it. And that's so important. And yet we're like, oh yeah, make sure you do your research, but it's actually critical.
It is. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I work as a junior agent for Kyle. So Kyle has entrusted me to be like a spokesperson for him. I lead people through the submission process. I'm like a mini Kyle. If people want to get, I wish I had all his knowledge though, and half his energy. Yeah. But I take them through the whole process. I make the decisions because Kyle has entrusted that to me and a few other people, and I don't take it lightly, and I am honored to do that. But I have written 2 or 3 emails, and I think I mentioned this on a previous writer's chat. I have written 2 or 3 emails saying, this is Cherrilynn, blah, blah, blah. Signed it Cherrilynn for Kyle Young, and people have come back to me and said, Dear Kyle. And it takes, and some people have spelled Kyle's name with a K when it's a C. And you're so right, Bethany. Take the time, because the cover letter is like your handshake. And you're looking them in the eye and you're shaking their hand and you're saying, this is me. This is what I'm about. This is what my book's about. Take the time to get the name right. Take the time. I think people appreciate that. Don't send it to everybody in the agency. I mean, we've discussed that before. Today, we're just discussing the book proposal itself. There's so many other things we could discuss before and after book proposals, but we're going to stick to the meat here. So your proposal cover letter is the agent with the title of your book, the genre of your book, the word count, your contact information, and a little bit about the book and a little bit about yourself. Now, after you do that, you do just a little bit of an overview. So it should be your proposal cover letter should only be 2 or 3 paragraphs, and it should be very pleasant and upbeat. I have read cover letters that tell me the whole history of the person. They don't want to know, they just want to know bits and pieces, what the book's about, a little bit about you. Now let's get into the proposal itself. What I've seen that I like is I get an email that's the cover letter, and then they attach the proposal. Please don't put your entire proposal inside the email unless the agency asks you to do that. I don't know of any agency that asks you to put it inside the email itself. Attach the proposal. I've seen people put the cover letter with the proposal again, which I like. I think that that's good.
Cherrilynn, I know when I first started going to writers' conferences, that is what they did not want attachments. There seemed to be a suspicion about attachments. But in the last 5-10 years, we've really gotten away from that. So I think that's important to note, and kind of what you even said earlier about staying current, because submission guidelines could change. It's important to stay current, what the latest things are. So you're right.
Right. So with a proposal, if you're asking for an agent, the reason why the agent wants it attached and almost perfect is because that's what they send to the publisher. That is exactly what they send to the publisher. So when an agent asks for these things, this is what the publisher wants too. Agents have their finger on the pulse of what the publishers want. So they're not trying to make your life hard. They're trying to make it easier. So follow what each agent or the publisher asks for. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So we have the cover letter, the one-page sell sheet. The one-page sell sheet is 1 page. The one-page sell sheet consists of the first line, it's the title, the genre, the word count. That's the first line. A tagline or a pitch, what your book's about in 1 line. Kind of like the basic back cover of the book should be in there too, in your one-page sell sheet. What you would put on the back cover of your book. An abbreviated bio and a photograph. Please use a current photograph, because I've seen photographs of people online, and then when I meet them in person, I have to be very discreet and not go, is that really that person? Have you guys ever done? I'm sorry, I don't, but use a current photograph. That's really them. And everything must stay on 1 page.
Robin asked how current. Do you have a recommendation for that at all?
Within the last couple of years, but if you've lost a lot of weight, take another picture. I have to say, our phones take phenomenal pictures now. I mean, if you can't afford to have somebody take a professional photo, take one with your phone. Most of my photographs are with my phone. I've seen some beautiful photographs with phone. Robin, that's a good question. Thank you. I'm going to rush through some of these because I think we need to get to the ones that matter most. So we've gone over the proposal cover letter. That should be your email. Make sure you have the right spelling of the name, if it's a Mr. or a Mrs. And the title, the genre, the word count, a little bit about you, a little about your book. You need to have a one-page sell sheet. And after that, a biographical sketch. Now, what that includes is your list of writing experience, your education, your achievements, prior publishing history. Don't tell your whole life story. They want to know why they should look at you, who you are, not that you're best friends with Jerry B. Jenkins or that, Cecil Murphy's your cousin. No, who you are. I back up a little bit. After your cover letter, after your title page in your proposal, you need to have a table of contents. So I'm sorry that I skipped over those. You need a table of contents of what's in your proposal. Because if the agent looks at it and says, okay, I want to go look at their marketing analysis, they can see, okay, the marketing analysis for this proposal is on page 10. So I'm sorry, I forgot that. So your first thing is your title, your cover letter, your title page, your table of contents, your one-page sell sheet, your biographical sketch. Then you want to get into the story synopsis. Now, it's different for fiction and nonfiction. And as we go through this, I'm going to tell you what the only different sections are different for fiction and nonfiction. And the story synopsis is what is a little bit different. They want a story synopsis for fiction. This should be 1 to 3 pages. It just tells what you identify your protagonist. I want to read to you what Jane Friedman says. Jane Friedman, most of you who've been writing and study writing, she's a really good person. She's really good. She's really great at writing. She's good at teaching writing. What Jane Friedman said about a fiction synopsis, she said, begin with a strong paragraph, identifying your protagonist, the problem or conflict, and the setting. The next paragraph should convey any major plot turns or conflicts necessary, and any characters that should be mentioned in order for your book summary to make sense. Don't list every single character in your book in the synopsis. Lastly, Jane recommends indicating how major conflicts are resolved in the last paragraph. This ensures a clear presentation, Jane says, of your book or novel and doesn't leave the reader confused. This is where you need to give up who did it. If you have a mystery, you have to put that in the synopsis. They need to know. They're not going to go and give the ending away. They want people to buy the book. The agent or the publisher is not going to do that, but they need to know why, or how it ends, how the conflict's resolved. We get some, well, you have to read the book you have to read the book to find out who did it. No, I want to know why I'm going to sell your book. I don't need, I'm not, got to buy it in the first place.
Cherrilynn, Renee asked about even if it's a picture book that's under 600 words. What about the story synopsis with children's books?
Children's books are handled a little bit differently. Bethany, do you know? I'm not an expert on children's book. I wish Michelle Adams were here. But most of the time, when you pitch a children's book, you attach the whole children's book because they're not very long. And if it's a board book or a picture book, you put the whole thing in there. But don't put it in the email. And if it is a children's book, mention if you have an illustrator, mention, age group and things like that. But children's books are handled a little bit differently. Do you have any suggestions for that, Bethany?
I'm in the middle of proposals for a children's series, and the way we have them done is they break them into spreads, And so I actually have the entire story in the proposal, so they see the entire thing. And it says, you know, a heading is, it's all centered too. I think Michelle taught me that. Spread 1, there's the text. And then on the side, I add what image I think, you know, I see in my head that they probably will not use. And then it goes spread 2 and the text and like that. So I think like a 20-page little, you know, picture book or board book would be 10 spreads, and they want to see the whole thing for that. But there's a lot of variation with children's, like there's picture books in the age groups and things. So you really have, I think that's the one you have to super know, this is the age group, this is the kind of book it is, and be very clear so that they know that you know what you're talking about. So I'm not the person to speak on that, Michelle is, but they want the story. In a nutshell.
And you know a lot more than I do. When I do book submissions, I look at the story idea for the children's book. And what I've been doing now is I've been just forwarding the children's books to the person who takes care of children's books for Hartline, because I am not that educated on it. I'm learning. And so I don't want to misspeak on that. Maybe we could do a children's book proposal thing just by itself, because children's books like a whole nother entity, right, Bethany? It's like a whole nother entity. So as we were saying, fiction books, your synopsis should include the protagonist, the problem or conflict, and the setting, and you need to tell how it's resolved. For nonfiction, you need to describe the book in a few a few paragraphs, and then a chapter by chapter outline, which consists of a few sentences of what each chapter is about. Now, I would find this very hard. Some people find this very hard. That's why you need to learn how to write tight. How would you just practice it? How would you describe this chapter in 2 sentences? And you have to do that with each chapter in a nonfiction book. So we've gone over, we're up to the marketing analysis. Let me just back up because I want to tell you what we've gone over. I like to recap a little bit. We've gone over the cover letter, the 1-page sell sheet, and I've done these very quickly, the biographical sketch, and the synopsis for fiction and nonfiction. Now, the marketing analysis is totally different than the marketing plan. And what a lot of people do is they put them together. The marketing analysis and the marketing plan are big parts for the publisher and for an agent. They like to look at the marketing plan, but they look at these together. The marketing analysis identifies your book's audience and reveals if the book has enough potential readers to make it worth publishing. In your marketing analysis, please do not say this book is for everyone, because your book is not for everyone. Like a Christian book, we'll say even, like C.S. Lewis series. Everybody loves C.S. Lewis and Narnia and all those books. But I'm sure if he were to write the marketing proposal, he would not know everyone. The marketing analysis takes work. So what you have to do for your marketing analysis, first I'm going to tell you what it includes, and then I'm going to tell you how to get there. Because this is important. This part is important. Because if there's no market for your book, it doesn't matter how great it's written, it's not going to get published. And I've seen some really good things, but there's no market for it. So I'm going to give you a few examples of what to say in your marketing analysis, and then I'm going to tell you how to go about it. A great way to say who your book is for is something like 18 to 30-year-old Christian women who craft without using a sewing machine. That's kind of, there's books out there. There could be a book out there like that. 16 to 25-year-old olds who love this would be a YA, 16 to 25-year-olds who love non-gory vampire stories. Does that make sense to you? And now another one would be business people who are studying for a master's in business. It could be business women who are studying. This would be who you are targeting. New parents who also happen to be runners, or Christian parents whose kids go to secular schools. Do you see how kind of specific it is? But there's always going to be a secondary and a tertiary audience. So I'm going to give you some steps on how to build your analysis. You know, when Bethany said it takes time to do a good book proposal, it does. And once you get to know who you're marketing your book to, and some people call it a tribe. Who's your tribe? You know, who are the people that want to read your book? Who would be interested in your book? A tribe is your followers and people who, you know, root you on and stuff. But then there's other people who wants to read your book or would be interested in it. Okay, so before you even write the analysis, these are things that you can do. Describe your ideal reader. When you do this, and do it in great detail. Who do you see reading your work? What are they like? What problems or concerns do they have? Where do they hang out? What do they buy? What do they like to do? Where do they live? What are their professions? How much money do they earn? You know, this kind of sounds weird. Are they in a relationship? What do they want and what they need? When you know exactly, Bethany, she's our social media lady. She can probably expound on this.
Well, I was just thinking, we talked about this last week in the marketing, that companies and brands do this with, especially clothing companies. I will say, I worked at Gap, and I know for a fact that they have 3 or 4 avatars is one term that they call them, but they know exactly who their target audience is, and it's very, very tiny, because they know that the other groups will then jump on board, and we have to kind of this is what basically what you're saying here is you need to know exactly who this book is for in a very small way, and then you'll attract the bigger readership that way. So those are important things to know about your reader.
Yes, and I haven't been able to watch your show from last week, and I'm going to do that, and I highly suggest whatever information you can get, like from Bethany or somebody else, do the research. Take the time to do the research. Don't just throw it together and send it. We can tell if you just throw it together and send it, unless you've been doing book proposals for so long that you've mastered it. So some people have, and they can just put it together. I know Michelle Adams can put a children's book thing together just like that, because she's been doing it for a long time. Take the time. So the other things, determine the size of your market. Do online research like Google and find statistics that indicate how many of these people exist in the world. You know, I was thinking, if you have a romance book, a Christian romance book, Google how many people read Christian romance. You can go to the American Christian Fiction Writers, there's romance groups, get specific numbers, and say where you're going to hang out with these people, how you're going to reach these people, how many of these people exist. This is how you get a marketing analysis. So your marketing analysis could say, like if we're talking about romance people, you can say my demographic is 40 to 60-year-old Christian women who read, who like romance with a, with a murder twist or something like that. You say that, and then you can go and say things like, the American Christian Fiction Writers have 25,000 women who are interested in learning how to write this because we know writers are readers, and also a fan base of 500,000 people. Facebook Christian romance novel site has 5,000 followers, or Twitter or whatever. You go to these places and say how many people are there. Does that make sense to you, Jean? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But I'm also thinking as a writer, wow,
It's a lot of work.
It is work to do. But what a wonderful, I think we'll be better writers because we know this.
And you know what? When you do this research, you can find places to hang out with these people who are of like mind, and you can grow your fan base. But while you do this, while you're doing your marketing analysis, what a way to grow your fan base and find other like-minded people. So the marketing analysis is pretty in-depth. The competitive analysis. Now, the competitive analysis is a list of competitive books. And I asked a few agents, well, how far back do we go? 5 years seems to be the norm. Within the last 5 years, how many books have been published like yours? And what you do is you list each of these books. I would list, you should have at least 5, no more than 10. I wouldn't put it like a long list. And what you do is, when you do this competitive analysis, I go on Amazon or Goodreads or someplace like that and look for books, Christian romance, whatever your book is about, look it up. And if there's been books published before, like 2010, don't use them, within the last 5 to 7 years. And what a book analysis in each of those titles that you list, each one, you should list the author, the book title, of course, the book title, the author of that book, the publisher of that book, and the copyright year, which is, you go back to 2010, 2011. You can put the number of pages, if it's paperback or hardcover, you don't have to, the price of that book. And you do this for 5, 6, 10 books. But what you do after you list that is you compare. That's the important part. The publishers and the agents want to know how your book is different from the other books. Describe how your book is different and how it may improve. Your book may improve upon the other book. Never put another book down. In fact, what I would like to see is, express how the other book is good, but express how yours is a little bit different. Because yes, it's a competition, but we're not out to badmouth other people. We don't want to do that. We want to look professional. Bethany?
That is a really good point, because the books that you're putting in the competitive work section, what you're basically telling the agent or the publisher is that this is a bestseller, or, this is an amazing book in this category, and my book can sit on the shelf next to it. So if you put that book down, basically they're published and they've done well and you haven't. So you're making yourself look bad when you do that. So I like that you said that.
Oh, thank you. So, let me give you an example. I have a gentleman who's doing a leadership book, another leadership book. How many leadership books are out there? But he has a different twist on it. He has a little bit of a different twist on his book. Plus his platform, which we're going to talk about, is huge. This is the one book proposal, and I wish I haven't gotten permission from him to use it to show people, but this is the one book proposal that I went like, wow. because his marketing, his competitive analysis spoke great about the other books, but said, but mine is different because I do it, this is my twist on it. So it's not saying the other one's bad, it's just saying how I'm different and why people would want to buy mine. So we've discussed, I'm just going to read real quick, the cover letter, the one-page sell sheet. Don't forget to do your, to list your contents, your table of contents, and what is in your book proposal and what page they can find it on. Your biographical sketch, the story synopsis for fiction and nonfiction, the marketing analysis, the competitive analysis, and drum roll please, this is the part everybody has a hard time with, the marketing plan. This is where we go. And I have to tell you, how much time do we have?
About 20 minutes. We're okay.
Okay.
Good 15 minutes. If you say 15 minutes, if we allow some questions.
Okay.
And
the marketing plan is so important.
Go ahead. One quick thing, you had talked about, you read an article, I think by Jane Freeman.
Yes.
Yes. Could you maybe later put that on our Facebook page? A couple people wanted to go back and look at that as a reference. Do you have the link for that maybe?
I think I can find it, yes. But
yeah,
you can just go, she's just phenomenal. There's so many good people out there.
Yeah.
And I like to mention other people because we're so blessed. I mean, like Edie Melson who's here. I mean, her writing blogs, I followed Edie's writing blogs as a baby writer. I've only been writing for 3 years. And I started doing what she said to do on social media. I started just following her, and she has so many great people. She has Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers, that has a blog, and then the Write, WRITE conversation. It's phenomenal. I mean, I've been doing what she's done, and I found huge success. Huge, and it's success in my book because I feel like I'm on the right path to where God wants me, because I'm listening to what these people who've been there, done that, are doing and what they've learned, and I'm learning from them. And I highly suggest learn, read, because it changes. Let's get to the marketing plan. I know if I was to say how many people don't even want to deal with marketing, everybody's hand would go up. I want to tell you, one of my friends, she's a friend, and I'm also signing her because her book idea is great. She does not have a huge platform, which we're going to talk about, but she's hiring a person to market her book. And I won't say who because I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but this person is known everywhere. This marketer reaches everywhere. This marketer has done international stuff. So when you associate your name with this person who's marketing for her, it's, to me, it's a no-brainer. I would be silly not to sign her if she's got that person doing her marketing. So if you can afford somebody to do the marketing for you, do it. If you want to just write. And most of us can't. So let me tell you, the marketing plan is so vital. The agents and publishers need to know your visibility. That's what the marketing plan is. How many books can I sell? And where am I going to sell them? That's all. And you can brainstorm, and you will think of places that you never thought of before. Okay, so the normal places that people look for in your marketing plan, your website, platform is key. So I'm going to mainly talk about platform, but your marketing plan includes your platform, which is your website or a blog, social media. Now, the things that you have to be careful about is with your social media, your followers and things like that. I'm going to specifically talk about Twitter. Do not buy followers. If you buy followers, we're going to look and see the rest of your platform. And if it doesn't match up, that doesn't matter how good your book is, we will not accept it. Because be honest, I've signed people with only like a few hundred because their books are good and they purchased a marketing plan person. But no, Bethany.
I wanted to follow up on that, because a targeted following is better for you than that big number, especially if it's fake. Because if a publisher gives you a big advance for a book, thinking that you're going to be able to sell a percentage of your following, and you can't deliver based on the size of the publishing house, you're either a loss for them and they will not re-sign you. I mean, that's a thing that you have to think about too. You want a career with them. You want to make them look good, and you want to be a good author for them too. There's a lot of responsibility in that. It does not help you in the long run to do that. So
right. So be very honest. So these are the things. It's a numbers game. So I'm going to speak candidly here. Platform is key. Social media, we want numbers. Be specific, be honest. If you have 1,000 followers, if you have 300, what we want to see as agents is that you are involved, that you know what marketing, that you are a marketer, and that you know what marketing consists of, and that you are willing to work with the agent and the publisher to market. We're looking for people who are willing to go out and do that. Now, I'm going to give you some ideas, and these things that I'm going to talk about, they want numbers attached to it. Websites. How many, if you have a website, if you're an author, you have to have a website, especially to talk about your book. They want you to have a blog. They want you to talk about, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you're writing about, but it has to pertain to it a little bit. They want you to have a blog. Do you have a newsletter? How many people are attached to that newsletter or a mailing list? How many people do you have access to on your mailing list? That is huge. Bethany?
The email list is your money list. I cannot tell you enough. Social media is a big deal, but if you can't convert your social media followers into your email list, if that shuts down, like Vine, for example, there are people who had hundreds of thousands of followers on Vine. Vine shut down like this, and they lost everything. They had to move over to YouTube, and anyway, you don't control social media, but you control your email. And then just this week, Jeff Goins was interviewing a guy, and I can't remember his name, but he started real slow, built his email list to 10,000, and then said, should I go ahead and go after a book deal? And Jeff Goins told him no. He said, wait a year, develop your email list further, you'll get a bigger advance. He did, even though he didn't want to, he said. He just got a $220,000 advance for his book because of his email list size. He nurtured it, he developed it, and 200, are you kidding me? Like,
that's a lot.
Your email list.
Those are people that yes, email is so important because the person receiving the email controls what they read and what they can delete that email. And if you have 250,000, you have 250,000 homes that you are going into. So that's wonderful. Other things, guest contributions to your blogs, writing articles, however you get your name out there. If you've contributed to a blog, I know Bethany contributes to Blue Ridge Mountain blog. That has quite a few followers. Whatever you contribute to. Organizations you belong to. Do you belong to the Girl Scouts? Do you belong to ACFW? What organizations do you belong to? Jean, you look like you wanted to say something.
Other than, I even listed my alumni groups.
Yes.
And that way, because you think about a lot of times they publish their alumni magazine, and that goes to tens of thousands of people a lot of times.
And those are things that you can put in your marketing plan. Who am I going to sell my book to? Do you have public speaking appearances? Put those down. How many people are how many people are you going to speak to? Like I talked about, the organizations. Terry Whalen writes that if you belong to a prominent organization, they might even let you put their emblem on the book. That right there is great. The number one book proposal that I got, this gentleman is a John Maxwell certified speaker. Well, there's tons of them out there, but he's international. He listed all the speaking engagements that he has over the next year. He was specific about every organization he belongs to, his church, Boy Scout, everything, his social media platform, numbers. Everything is numbers. So brainstorm. And if you want me to brainstorm with you, I will brainstorm with you. Marketing is honesty and numbers. Brainstorm where you sell your book. Do you belong to a mega church? Some people belong to a mega church and they teach Sunday school in a mega church. That mega church has 10,000 people. That you need to list that. Endorsements. I want to talk about endorsements because we don't have much time, and I want to tell you a little bit about what Terry Whalen said too about other special sales for your book special sales. But endorsements. I get this line a lot. I will ask this person. I will approach this person. Don't put that in there. Ask them. Approach them. If they say they will do it, get it confirmation and put it in your book proposal. This gentleman has a huge endorsement. That person has, I don't know, like 1.5 million followers on Twitter, the person he's getting the endorsement for. If you can get endorsements, do it. Do it kindly, respectfully, professionally. I personally asked a best-selling author for an endorsement. She wanted to endorse my book. Her publisher said she didn't want her to endorse anybody's book for a year. Now, I asked her, I said, I had met her in person and we got a rapport going, and I love this woman. And I said to her, I know you probably get a lot of this, but I really respect your writing, and I'm writing something similar, and I would consider it an honor and a privilege for you to endorse or even consider endorsing my book. I know you get a lot of these, so if you say no, I will wholeheartedly understand, and there will be no bad feelings. That's what I emailed her. And she emailed back, I wish I could do it, Cherrilynn. And thank you for being gracious and the encouragement. But my publisher said none for now. There's no harm in asking. But don't expect because you know somebody, they're going to endorse your book. And there should be no hard feelings either. I've seen that, and it's not professional. and it hurts sometimes, but have your cry, eat some chocolate, but don't hold it against the person. So in your marketing plan, put all of your numbers, your website, social media, speaking, people you know, endorsements. Terry Whalen writes this, and I have a book. I've been trying to read every book that I can on book proposals. But Terry wrote this book, Proposals That Sell. I love the S has a money sign, dollar sign. But he talks about special sales. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people don't understand special sales. And they don't realize they actually have a bigger platform than they do. When I talk to authors, I'm like, do you realize what you have here? And they're like, wow, I didn't even think of that. But, he's talking about all the special organizations and things like that. How can you think outside the box? I've seen people do Facebook Live stuff. I've seen people do chats. I've seen people throw a book party. There's so many ways. I was discussing with one of my friends. She's got a book about, I don't want to name the book because we're signing her on and she's a friend, but it has to do with dance. And I said, have you approached Christian dance organizations? She goes, I never thought of that. It has nothing to do, it's about dancing with Jesus. That's all I'm going to say. She goes, no, I never thought of that. But brainstorm. And this is what Terry Whalen says, because I know we don't have much time. But this is a question that you all must ask yourself when you're doing your marketing plan. Can you come up with a special market for your book that will sell 10,000 to 100,000 copies from the first printing? It sounds impossible, but if you brainstorm and you think of all these out of the box, think outside of the box. Think about radio, think about TV. Who do you know? People. All of you I know people. Put that in your marketing plan, but don't say, I will do this. Do it, and then put it in your marketing plan. After your marketing plan, I know we only have a minute, there's finances and metrics. My gentleman who pitched this book pitched a whole financial plan. He told me how much money he has to spend for his marketing. He told me exactly where he's going to use it. He told me how much money he expects to make after he follows his marketing plan. He broke it down into how much he pays for his website, how much he would pay for advertising, everything. How much he pays for travel. If you only have $100, if you only have $50, put that down. I have 50, but my website reaches how many people? I pay $100 a year for my website. Put it down. If you plan to travel and you're speaking at a conference, I know Victoria's going to a conference, Bethany's going to a conference. My marketing plan, I'm speaking for Bethany and Victoria now, I'm part of Serious Writer. Our reach is this. Our conferences have this many people. That's a way to market your book. The last portion of your book proposal is your history of the manuscript. That just tells the agent where you've submitted the manuscript. And I know I've done this really quickly, and the marketing plan is so important. And if anybody has any other questions, I know I've gone over a lot of this quickly, but and I'm here to help you, so email me if you have any questions. But it's so important. Like Bethany said, it takes time, it takes effort. Get somebody else to read your book proposal. Run it through Grammarly before you send it. Run it through Grammarly. Have somebody else read it. That's the best thing. And not a relative, unless it's like Bethany and her mom, who are both professional writers.
Yeah, well, this has been great today, Cherrilynn. This has been great, and I really loved your emphasis on the market analysis and the marketing section. That is what we need to hear and spend the time on. I often thought, especially as a nonfiction writer, the book proposal, whether you're going to submit it to an agent or an editor, even if you're going to self-publish, it's a great plan of action.
Mm-hmm.
You think it through. It's the outline that you need, even if for a self-publisher. It's a good process.
I've heard a lot of people say that you agents and publishers, and writers, you should do your book proposal before you finish your book.
Yes.
Even my clients who have self-published, when I help them edit, I would go through and make them do portions of a proposal first, because it helped. That's what I needed to see, not the chapters. I needed to see where it was going. And you can hire people to write the proposals for you or to do critiques of them too. I mean, that's something Michelle and I've been doing that, with the literary agency before. You can get ghostwriters or even people to do critiques. So there are people who specialize in this to help, because this is the most important thing, the proposal, I think. Like,
if you have it done right, if you have it done right, the book will write itself then after that. I really think so. So
agree.
It's really worth the time.
I didn't realize how important the book proposal was until I became a submissions reader.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I mean, I pray over every submission that I read, but if you don't take the time to do the detailed work, we look at it like you're not going to take the time to do the detailed work it takes to promote your book or even write your book well.
We've got a couple last minute questions, because then we do need to be mindful of time and stuff. If somebody already has an agent, should you also pay someone else to review that proposal? What did you answer that?
I would ask your agent. Me personally, I'm helping a lot of people with their book proposal because it's a reflection of our agency as well. I don't write the book proposal for them, but I'm helping them. I would ask your agent, whoever asked that question, do you want me to have someone else review it? But I'm surprised the agent has actually accepted a book proposal without it being, we at Hartline, we want the book proposal completed before we even sign a contract. It has to be good because we want it ready to be sent out.
There you go.
But I will help. We help people get to that point if we feel that their book is worthy to be published. But, and it depends on how much money. Bethany, can you answer that? Because you go through like the whole process with people, with your company.
Yeah, it does depend on the agent. Some friends of mine have agents that are very detailed into the book proposal. So they'll sign them sometimes before the book proposal is done because they see potential there, and then they work with them. And then some they don't want to do a lot of editing for it because they see their job as connecting that with the publisher. So it's going to depend. But I think that's good advice, is to ask your agent. And that's good advice for working with the agent, is how can I be your best client? So, like, do you want me to take care of this on my end and then send it to you, or what? Because you want your agent to be happy to see your email come through, not like, oh,
Oh, thank you for saying that, Bethany.
Well, I think a goal should be, and you said this earlier, Cherrilynn, that you were wowed when you see the proposal. I think all our goals should be to have book proposals that wow an agent or an editor. I think that would be a neat long-term goal. It is noon. Does anybody have last-minute questions in the chat? Why don't you put those in real quick? We'll wrap up then the recording. We'll talk about next week real quick, and then we'll open it up for everybody to come on board just to talk for the after party. Any last-minute questions, why don't you put in the chat? I will tell you real quick next week, and then we'll do the final thing with questions. Next week, we're happy to have Shelley Hitz with us. She's the owner-operator of Author Audience Academy, of which one thing I am a member of, and I really like the work Shelley does. She's a Christian writer's coach, and she has gotten involved with a new platform called Skillshare, of which she produces some online courses for and has produced some income. And it's been a very interesting thing. So I've asked her to come on and tell a little bit about Author Audience Academy, but mostly talk about her Skillshare. What has she learned? What tricks she has learned? So this might be something new for people, a new way to both to augment your finances, but also to learn. I enjoy the platform for learning. So it'll be on Skillshare. So that's going to be next week in Shelley Hitz, and we're looking forward. And I have confirmed her just this morning, so we know she'll be with us next week.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
I think it will be. If you haven't,
she's great.
Yeah, she is great, and the Skillshare platform is really kind of a neat way to learn. So I look forward to that. One question came in about endorsements again. Can they be corporate endorsements? Bethany answered yes. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Sure.
That's the best. I would actually put a name a contact person at that corporation. But if a whole corporation is going to back you, I would actually put a name too, though, just for contact purposes, and make sure you put the numbers. Numbers. They want to know numbers. They look at the numbers.
You want to know the numbers.
And even if the numbers are small, we want to help. Kyle did some videos yesterday. We have a new process at Hartline, and I love it. But he said we want to help get writers published.
Mm-hmm.
If you are willing to do the work, and you are willing, and you're willing to be corrected. I mean, none of us are perfect.
No.
You know what I mean? But there's a process, and if you're willing to go through the process, we want to help you. We really do. So if we have people who are not well known at all, that we want to get their name out there, and we want to help because their book is good.
That is great. That is great. Thank you, Cherrilynn. Thank you so much. This has been great today.
I feel like I just touched the tip of the iceberg. There's so much.
But we could periodically.
I rushed through it.
I know, but we could periodically do something on book proposals throughout, and maybe that's something we'll look at next year, because there's some of these topics that we always need to learn more about as writers. And I like what...
I have so much more to learn about book proposals, but reading them is the best way
I bet.
to learn. And reading is the best way to learn how to write well, too.
Right. And like you said, and Tina made the comment about being a teachable person, have a teachable heart. I think that works. It's a characteristic that we need as writers. I just thank everybody that stayed with us through the replay and watching all this. And those of you that were here live, we'll end the recording and we'll go into the after party. And if you're watching this on the replay, it's fun to be here for the after party sometime. So we'll have a little bit of an after party here. We'll invite everybody online, and see you all next week for Writer's Check. Bye, everybody.